But really, I was sitting in my seat just looking around thinking, what a gift this is to be with people who check into what's going on. Who don't just go through life, but put into their time, not take out of their time, but put into their time spiritual practice and time to reflect and put intention around what's going on in their own beings and in the world. People who are not simply satisfied by being asleep and going through the motions of life. People who are not satisfied by the status quo or by building up material things and serving their own simple human needs, but people who have reached a depth and a level of care and compassion that they reserve time in their lives and in their consciousness for really looking into what's going on and what they can do about it. That's pretty remarkable, isn't it? If you think about it, it's pretty remarkable. If you go through all of humanity and you look at that intention. When we look outside of ourselves to our world, we can see that there's a lot going on. There's always a lot going on, doesn't it seem like? There is no shortage of things to complain about. There is no shortage of things to be in despair about. There is no shortage of things to look out at and go, what is going on? No shortage. But when we're on a spiritual path, when we're on a spiritual journey, and when we have a spiritual practice, we know that it's not just about what's going on. And it's not just about what's going wrong. That in fact, if the promise of the master teacher is true, there is something beyond our human vision going on. So how do we get from what's going on and what's going wrong to gratitude? To a state of mind marked by appreciation, to a spiritual state of awareness. How do we get from one place to the other? And is it even okay to get there? Is it okay to have gratitude, to be peaceful and centered with what's going on? Or is it irresponsible, unkind, not compassionate, selfish, delusional? What we're talking about today is gratitude. It's not just about counting blessings. It's not just about going, look how good my life is. Look at the great things for me. It's about something deeper and something bigger than that. And not only is it okay to be in it, it is essential to the awakening of humanity. That we dive into it and we allow it to have space in our lives and in our consciousness. If you hold on to that question of whether or not it's okay to have gratitude in times like these, watch an interview with the Dalai Lama. Watch that man giggle and laugh and share principles, share stories, share spirituality with a lightness of being unlike the circumstances surrounding him, unlike the stories that have come to him, unlike the spiritual and physical human work that is on his plate, that is in his calling or karma. Getting from what's going wrong to gratitude. Staring at one doesn't lead to the other. Staring at what's going on or what's going wrong doesn't lead to gratitude. It's not the portal. Is that news? If you really think about it, then why don't we do it? Why don't we shift it? It's kind of like with our health and well-being. You know, we know what to eat to be healthy, don't we? We know how to exercise to be healthy. It's not about not knowing it. It's not about not knowing what our habits create. We know how to think to be healthy. We know what kind of healthy, especially in unity, we've done a lot of work around healthy boundaries, healthy guidelines for a prosperous mind and an abundant consciousness. It's not about knowing it. It's about activating it. It's about stepping into it. It's about using the one moment, which is the only moment that we have, and unplugging it from that which leads into dark valleys and plugging it into that which illuminates. One of my favorite Unity authors and former minister here at the chapel, and many of your favorites too, the Reverend Sig Paulson, says this in his book, Your Power to Be. He says, all humanity has had a hand in this shaping, and all humanity suffers the pain of misshaping, this distortion of light in the world that man is, this warping of the human potential. Almost without exception, the instruments of organized society, religion, science, business, education, labor, tradition, habit have conspired to delay man's coming into his own. Each segment has come up with its own image of man, its own tight little formulas of human good, and then worked that shape into the image of man. Religion's image of man as a worm of dust, science's view of man as a few cents worth of chemicals, business and labor's concept of man as a cog in the machine of commerce. Education's attempt to pour light into a supposedly ignorant brain. All the images of conformity and limitation that have been poured into the imagination chamber of man are contributors to the shape he is expressing and experiencing. All the attempts to make man a ward of any organization, or for that matter, even of God, are doomed to failure because of what man is, the self-expression of the infinite, the light of the world. The light of the world. So one of the portals to gratitude, opening that portal, is looking through what's going on in a different way, looking always to that truth that man, woman, self, other is the light of the world. In Matthew 6:22, it says, the light of the body is the eye. If therefore thine eye be single, the whole body shall be full of light. That spiritual teaching shows us that it's not about looking through the eyes of sense consciousness. It's not about looking through the eyes of our education or even through the eyes of reason that we come into our spiritual awakening. I was talking to a friend recently about gratitude, and we were going back and forth on what do you think about gratitude? What do you think it is? And she said, I think it's seeing life through your third eye. I think it's presencing what's going on, everything that's going on through the third eye. Therefore, let thine eye be single, and thy whole body shall be full of light. The third eye represents our true sight, our vision. The third eye is described as the gate into the inner realms and spaces of higher consciousness. It is through that portal and leading with that consciousness that we establish a spiritual dominion over the limitations of the human mind. I was telling a friend recently because I had some expansion in the experience of gratitude, and it really surprised me because something happened to me where there was a lot going wrong. A lot of what was going on was wrong, bad, not really okay, not good. Like, I had 1,000,001 reasons to complain. But something else was going on in the midst of it. In the midst of it, all I could do was be grateful. All I could do was somehow slide right from the moment where I go, that's wrong, to going, that's what's so good about this. Not hard and easy, but just this expansion of gratitude. And I was telling a girlfriend about it and saying how much I was just marveling at what's going on and how this could be happening. And I said, because I'm not a grateful person. Like, that's just never been me. And she had a little bit to say about that. She's like, really? I don't think about you as not grateful. I think you've been a grateful person. But I was like, no, not really. I have a mind that can pick things apart, that can chew things up. And even in the midst of something great happening, I am masterful at looking at what's missing or what would be better. It is like a real gift. And there are not a lot of spaces where I don't experience the fullness of this gift. And that gift leads me to this place where I sometimes can experience the idea of gratitude is the way that some people can experience the word love, like, oh, love, shmuv, la, 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 la. Oh, gratitude, I'm grateful for, but I'm not feeling anything. Of course I'm grateful for. I have no problem, like, feeling the immersion of beauty and going, that's never been a problem. But what has been a problem is being like, I am writing a gratitude list, and these are all the things I'm grateful for. That's been a problem for me because I haven't felt anything when I've done it at times. I haven't felt it. Have you ever had someone pray a prayer and you didn't feel a thing? Like, really? That was a prayer? Because that sounds terrible. But fill in the blank. Have you ever experienced something that other people have revered as being so rich and so full, so beautiful and so meaningful, and you've been like, yeah. Everything is nothing unless it's a spiritual practice that comes alive in us. And we're not wrong because we don't feel things in the way other people feel things. We miss the mark when we think that someone else's habit, someone else's practice, someone else's journey, someone else's tool is supposed to work for our unique makeup. What we can grasp onto is knowing that I see that. And if I see that in them, there is a way to have that for me. There is a way to be that. There is a way to feel that. But my mind, my framework, myself must just not speak in that language. So what is my language? I love looking at how we miss the mark and why sometimes we want to feel a certain way. We have a mental concept of something. We read about something. We learn about it in a book, or we see the experience someone else has of it, but we're just not getting it. Just not getting it. One of the biggest awakenings can happen when we recognize that gratitude is not transactional. Gratitude has nothing to do with transactions. Now, there may be other things that do, appreciation, blessings, thanks. But true spiritual gratitude is beyond transactional. It has nothing to do with what we're getting. It can't be even necessarily felt by making a list of the things that are going well. And if you have a mind like mine, when you make the list of the things that are going well, there's another little guy in the back making a list of the things that are missing. Gratitude is not transactional. What if we got that? What if we really got that? It's not about what we have. It's not about what we get. It's not even about what we see or what we can make sense of. Gratitude is a state of mind. It's a way of being. In fact, it's a spiritual power, like it's a vibrational field. It's always existent, but we don't always choose to enter it. You can't reason your way into gratitude. You can practice it. You can do the little thing. Has anyone done that before? You've read studies that if you smile, you're actually releasing good hormones and good things in your body, and you'll actually start to feel happier. You can do it like that, and that's what a lot of our tools help us do. I did that in college when I was miserable. My mother and other friends told me, just keep smiling and soon it'll be real. And I can remember walking up a street to meet my sister in Boulder. She was coming from her place and I was coming from my dorm. And I was walking up to her and I just had this biggest smile and I was just looking at her, walking up. And she got like 3 feet away from me and I was like, and it was literal. I mean, this is funny. It was literal. It was like a puddle on the ground. But the smile all the way there was like, I'm happy, I can be happy. I'm happy, I can be happy. I'm miserable. What if gratitude is a state of mind, a way of being, a power? What would it come from? How could we get to it? What deep spiritual practice could we have to open the portal to it? What can we do to enter into it? Well, it comes from our true nature, and it resides within us and among us. And as the master teacher said, the kingdom of God is not coming with signs to be observed, nor will they say, look, here it is, or there it is, for behold, the kingdom of God is in your midst. And the field of gratitude is the field of the kingdom. It's the field of feeling that truth. And the portal, or the doorway, the gate, the entrance, is a realization, a real realization, that it won't come because something happens. and it can't be taken away because something happens. It cannot be given or removed based on any circumstances, relationships, successes, or failures. It can't because it's always there. So it can't come and it can't go. It can't come and it can't go because it's always there. We're in the midst of it. It happens to you, in you, through you, as you. It's an emergence. And we open the portal when we begin to find ourselves feeling like we're in the flow of life. When we're moving with the rhythm of life and not against it. When we decide and we finally surrender and we practice what we read about, which is not arguing with the moment. And when we decide not to argue with the moment, something happens. It's like the stone moves away from the cave and we see things differently. We say, if it's not mine to argue with this moment, with this feeling, with this mind, with the way that I am designed, if I'm not here to argue with it, what else is there to see? And grace simply slips us from one perspective to another. One of my favorite definitions of prosperity is that in the moment the need is identified, the source is revealed. In the moment one is aware that there is a desire, so too is the manifestation. At the height of prosperity, the height of abundance, the height of circulation. So with gratitude, it's that experience that the moment something is seen or felt, there is that graceful motion revealing the good. Revealing the good beyond reason. And the mind simply moves to it. It's a state of allowing where we are simply shown. Where in the midst of something negative or bad happening, we couldn't possibly complain because there is something else so beautiful to be recognized. And we wouldn't dare spend that one moment that is the only moment we have, which is every moment, that one where you arrive. We wouldn't dare spend it staring at the thing that's going wrong when we've been offered the gift of truly feeling and presencing the fullness of a moment. The fullness that's beyond right and wrong. We can only feel our way to it. We can't think our way to it. The portal to gratitude opens when we enter a state of allowing, when we engage the self that simply shows up, that simply presences each moment. The state of gratitude in the portal opens up when we actually add less to a moment, not more. When there is less. When we have peeled off the layers of what we require to be happy. When we have peeled off the layers of what we require to think things are going well. When we have peeled off all of the layers of the human condition and we simply bask in the spiritual condition. We open the portal when we begin caring less about if things go right and simply being grateful that we actually care. Being so grateful that we can feel the state of caring. When we care less if we lose, whether it's in love, whether it's our plans, our expectations, how we're treated, how we're treating others, whatever it is, caring less that we feel like we're losing, and more simply grateful to feel. Grateful that we're feeling. It happens when we care less about whether or not we get what we want, and we become grateful that our nature is to be an alchemist. So grateful that even in the midst of not getting what we think we want, we can see all of the gifts. We're just moved to them. Gratitude is the moment that we are aware of a lack, an injury, a problem. And grace moves in and the mind slides from what's going on to simply what is. And breathing into the fullness of what it feels like to see through a single eye. When we're moved from the automatic mind thinking about A, B, C, and we're just moved to X, Y, Z. We're simply open to it. Just knowing, oh, there my mind goes, X, Y, Z, A, B, C. We're moved over. That's when the magic happens. That's when we begin to feel grateful that we're just feeling. So are we willing to let go of the idea that gratitude is transactional? Are we ready to stop waiting for something that's never going to be given because it's already there? And it's in fact waiting for us. It's waiting for us while we're walking around like a nuthead, screaming for it, hoping for it, making lists, doing all these things to our minds, going, where is it, where is it, where is it, where is it, where is it? And it's just going, I'm waiting for you. Come on, nuthead. I'm waiting for you. When things just become rich. Can you feel that? We all know what it feels like. We've all had a moment where for whatever reason, we don't care if it's good or bad, our black and white thinking just stops and it just feels rich and it feels good to feel. So full, so rich. That's the portal. Let's stop waiting for it to come to us and recognize that it's here. Charles Fillmore, Unity's co-founder, pointed out that there is a church or worship service going on in each individual all of the time. But most are too occupied with outer things to know it. Namaste.